My sister just humiliated me in front of our entire family, claiming I was broke and desperately needed her help. What she didn't know, I was about to buy her dream house with cash. And when she showed up the next morning expecting to save me, well, let's just say her face when she realized who really owned that $1 million beach house was absolutely priceless. I'm standing here on this perfect California beach lawn, watching my older sister Victoria gather our entire family around her, like she's about to make some grand announcement. The ocean breeze is warm, everyone's laughing, and she has that look in her eyes. That look that says she's about to drop something big. Something she thinks will finally put me in my place. She's about to expose something she thinks will ruin me. But what she doesn't know is... well, let's just say, this story doesn't end the way she thinks it will. If you've ever had to deal with a jealous sibling who just couldn't stand to see you succeed, hit that subscribe button. Because this one's going to be a ride. My name is Taylor, and at 33, I've learned that sometimes the people who know you best are the ones most willing to hurt you the deepest. My sister Victoria is 35, and she's always been everything I'm not. Where I'm practical and business-minded, she's flashy and obsessed with status. Where I save money, she spends it on things that look good on Instagram. But it wasn't always this complicated between us. Growing up in San Diego, we were just two middle-class kids with working parents who did their best. Victoria was the golden child, the cheer captain, the one who lit up every room she walked into. Me, I was the quiet one with straight A's who spent Friday nights studying while Victoria was out at parties. And you know what? That was fine with me. I never needed to be the center of attention. But what I did need was for my family to see me, to acknowledge that maybe getting perfect grades and actually working hard meant something too. But every time Victoria would mess up, every time she'd get in trouble or hurt my feelings, my parents would pull me aside and say the same thing. Taylor, just let it go. You know how your sister is. Be the bigger person. Let it go. God, if I had $1 for every time I heard those words. The first time I really understood what kind of person Victoria could be, I was 16. Our school had this community service project where students could propose ways to help local charities. I spent weeks researching and writing this detailed proposal for a clothing drive that would partner with 3 different shelters. I was so proud of that project. It was the first time I felt like I had something that was really mine. Something that mattered. 2 days before the presentation, Victoria asked to see my notes. Said she wanted to understand what I was working on. I was so excited that she was finally showing interest in something I cared about that I handed everything over without thinking twice. The next morning, I walked into school to find Victoria presenting my entire project to the student council. Word for word, she even used my research, my contact list, everything. When I confronted her after she just shrugged and said, "You're too shy to present anyway. I'm helping you. Helping me, right?" When I told my parents, they said Victoria was just trying to make sure the project succeeded, that I should be happy it was getting the attention it deserved. Let it go, Taylor. Be the bigger person. That's when I learned my first real lesson about family. Sometimes the people who are supposed to protect you are the ones who teach you that your voice doesn't matter. But here's the thing about being underestimated your whole life. It teaches you to be resourceful. It teaches you to rely on yourself. And most importantly, it teaches you to be very, very careful about who you trust. After college, while Victoria was off at fashion school in LA, living it up on student loans and posting pictures of herself at every trendy restaurant, I was working 2 jobs and building something from nothing. I started a home decor e-commerce business from my tiny studio apartment, sourcing products, learning about marketing, figuring out logistics. I lived on ramen noodles and coffee for 2 years. While Victoria was buying designer bags and complaining about being broke, I was reinvesting every single penny back into my business. No debt, no credit card balances, just slow, steady growth. And you know what Victoria was doing during this time, working part-time at a boutique in Beverly Hills and telling everyone she was a fashion consultant. She'd post these elaborate stories on social media about her clients and her upcoming collaborations, but the truth was she could barely make rent. But the thing that really got under my skin was how she'd talk about her future. Every family gathering, every phone call, she'd go on and on about this dream beach house in Santa Barbara she was going to buy. When my influencer deals finally land, she'd say, when I get that big break in fashion marketing. She had it all planned out. The exact neighborhood, the view, even the color she'd paint the front door. Sage green, in case you're wondering. She must have described that house to me 100 times. Meanwhile, I'm over here quietly buying investment properties, building my portfolio, living below my means. By the time I turned 30, my business was doing well enough that I could afford pretty much anything I wanted. But I didn't flaunt it. I didn't need to prove anything to anyone. At least, that's what I told myself. But then, about 6 months ago, everything changed. My main supplier, the one I'd been working with for 3 years, defaulted on a massive order. Just disappeared overnight, taking a significant chunk of my working capital with them. Now, this wasn't going to bankrupt me or anything. I had reserves, other suppliers, a solid customer base, but it did create some paperwork headaches and meant I had to restructure some things while I found a replacement. Legal stuff, financial reorganization, the kind of boring business problems that happen when you actually run a real company. I kept it quiet because honestly, it wasn't anyone else's business. I was handling it. That's what you do when you're an adult. You handle your problems. But somehow Victoria found out. I still don't know how, but she got hold of some of the legal documents from the restructuring. Documents that, if you didn't understand business, might look pretty scary. Words like default and restructuring and asset protection can sound really bad when you don't know what they actually mean. And that's when Victoria saw her chance. Her chance to finally be the successful sister. Her chance to swoop in and save poor little Taylor, who had finally failed at something. Her chance to make me small again. Standing here now, watching her gather everyone around, I can see it in her eyes. She thinks she's about to win. She thinks she's about to expose my failure and offer herself as the solution. What she doesn't realize is that while she was busy planning my downfall, I was busy planning something else entirely. Something involving that dream beach house she's been talking about for years. Something she's about to find out very, very soon. So here we are at the annual family reunion, and honestly, the setting couldn't be more perfect. The ocean breeze is carrying the scent of barbecue and sunscreen. There are nautical-themed decorations everywhere. Picnic tables set up in the backyard, with those classic red checkered tablecloths. Someone strung up white lights between the palm trees, and there's this playlist of beach music playing softly in the background. It's the kind of scene that should make you feel warm and happy, like you're living inside a postcard. Except I'm not feeling warm and happy. I'm feeling anxious as hell. The supplier situation is still eating at me. I've been on the phone with the potential replacements all week, and while I'm confident I'll figure it out, the stress is definitely getting to me. I keep checking my phone, following up on leads, trying to stay positive. Every email notification makes my heart skip a beat, hoping it's good news from one of the companies I've been courting. Just this morning, I had a promising call with a manufacturer in North Carolina, who seems like they could handle my volume requirements. But they want to see 3 months of financial projections before they'll commit, which means more paperwork, more waiting, more uncertainty. At least I have some allies here. My cousin Sarah is sitting next to me, and she's exactly the kind of person you want in your corner. Blunt, loyal, doesn't take crap from anyone. She's a nurse practitioner in Phoenix, and she has this way of cutting through nonsense that I've always admired. She can see I'm stressed and keeps making these little jokes to try to lighten my mood. You know, she says, spearing a piece of pineapple from the fruit salad. Victoria's been checking her phone every 30 seconds. Either she's expecting a call from Ryan Gosling or she's planning something. I glance over at Victoria, who's indeed glued to her phone typing furiously. She's been doing this thing all afternoon where she takes pictures of herself with different family members, then immediately posts them to Instagram with captions like, "Family is everything," and "Blessed to be surrounded by love." And then there's Mike. Mike's been my friend since college. He's a financial analyst up in San Francisco, and he actually understands what I'm going through with the business stuff. He drove down from the Bay Area just for this thing, and honestly, having him here makes me feel a little less alone in this sea of relatives who think my biggest achievement is still being single at 33. "You're going to be fine," he keeps telling me. "This supplier thing is just a bump in the road. You've got reserves, you've got other options, and your customer base is solid. You've got this." I want to believe him. I really do. Mike's seen my books. He knows my business model inside and out. If anyone understands my financial situation, it's him. But there's this nagging voice in the back of my head that keeps whispering, what if? What if I can't find a reliable replacement supplier? What if the legal paperwork from the restructuring somehow affects my credit? What if Victoria is right when she says I should have been more careful with my business partnerships? Wait, Victoria never said that to me directly. When did she? "Taylor, you're spiraling," Sarah says, nudging my shoulder. "I can literally see you overthinking from here." She's right. I take a deep breath and try to focus on the present moment. The warmth of the sun on my shoulders, the sound of my little cousins playing in the pool, the smell of my Uncle Robert's famous barbecue ribs. My mom is bustling around making sure everyone has enough to eat, asking about seconds and thirds. Dad is manning the grill with Uncle Robert, and they're having one of their ongoing debates about whether gas or charcoal produces better flavor. It's all so normal, so familiar. Aunt Linda is holding court at one of the tables, showing everyone pictures from her recent cruise to Alaska. Cousin Beth is chasing her 2-year-old around the yard while trying to balance a plate of food. My grandma is sitting in her favorite lawn chair under the umbrella holding court, with anyone who will listen to her stories about the old days. This is my family. These are the people who watched me grow up, who celebrated my high school graduation, who sent me care packages in college. They love me. They want what's best for me. So why do I feel like I'm about to walk into an ambush? Has anyone seen Victoria's latest post? My cousin Jenny asks, holding up her phone. She's at some fashion week thing in LA. Look at this dress she's wearing. Everyone crowds around to look, and there's a chorus of ohs and ahs. Victoria is indeed wearing a stunning black dress, posing at what looks like some kind of industry event. "She's doing so well for herself," Aunt Linda says. "Always knew that girl would make it big in fashion." I try not to roll my eyes. Victoria's Fashion Week thing was probably a brand launch party at a boutique in West Hollywood that she heard about through Instagram. But whatever makes her happy, I guess. "What about you, Taylor?" Jenny continues. "How's the business going?" Before I can answer, Victoria materializes beside our table like she has some kind of radar for when people are talking about careers. "Oh, Taylor's been going through a rough patch lately," Victoria says, and there's something in her tone that makes my stomach clench. "But she's handling it really well." "What kind of rough patch?" my mom asks, suddenly interested. I open my mouth to explain that it's just some supplier issues, nothing major, but Victoria jumps in again. "It's probably better if Taylor explains it herself," she says with this sympathetic smile. "I don't want to speak for her." But she just did speak for me. She just told everyone I'm going through a rough patch without giving me the chance to frame it properly. Mike catches my eye and raises his eyebrows slightly. He can sense the tension too. "It's really not a big deal," I start to say, but then Victoria stands up. She's wearing this flowing white dress that probably cost more than most people's monthly car payments. Her hair is perfectly blown out despite the ocean humidity, and she has this smile on her face. That smile. The one she always gets when she's about to do something she thinks is clever. She picks up her wine glass and taps it with her fork. The sound cuts through all the conversation, and suddenly everyone's looking at her. "Before we eat," she announces in that voice she uses when she wants everyone to pay attention, "I want to share something important with the family." My stomach drops. I know that tone. I've heard it before, usually right before my life gets turned upside down. Sarah must sense something too because she reaches over and squeezes my arm. Mike leans forward slightly like he's getting ready to intervene if necessary. Victoria clears her throat dramatically and looks right at me. I know my sister Taylor has always been the private one in the family. She doesn't like to share her struggles or ask for help. She's always been so independent, so determined to handle everything on her own. Where is this going? But sometimes, Victoria continues, family needs to step in when someone we love is too proud to admit they're in trouble. The words hit me like ice water. Every person at this gathering is now staring at me, waiting to hear what kind of trouble I'm supposedly in. Taylor's business. She continues, and the entire backyard has gone dead, silent, defaulted on a 6-figure loan. The words seem to echo in the sudden quiet. I feel the blood drain from my face, feel my hands start to shake. It's like someone just announced that I have a terminal illness or committed a serious crime. I found the documents. Victoria goes on, still wearing that concerned sister expression. Legal papers, financial statements. She's in serious financial trouble and she's been too ashamed to admit it to any of us. I cannot move. I literally cannot move. It's like my body has forgotten how to function. My brain is screaming at me to stand up, to correct her, to explain that she's completely misunderstood what those documents mean. But my mouth won't work. There are 30+ relatives staring at me right now. Aunts and uncles and cousins and family friends all looking at me with this mixture of pity and shock and confusion. Some of them are whispering to each other. I can see my mom's face crumpling with worry. Victoria, what the hell? Sarah hisses, but her voice sounds far away. Mike leans forward, his analyst brain immediately kicking into gear. Victoria, that's not what those documents mean, he starts to say. Business restructuring doesn't indicate, but Victoria talks right over him. I know this is hard to hear, she says, addressing the entire gathering now. And I know Taylor probably doesn't want me sharing this, but she needs our support right now. She needs her family. And then, the worst part happens. Everyone starts talking at once. My Aunt Linda, who sells essential oils as a side hustle, immediately launches into this pitch about how I could rebuild my financial foundation by joining her team. Essential oils are recession-proof honey, she says, grabbing my hand. People always need natural wellness solutions. Uncle Robert starts offering me a job at his insurance company. It's not glamorous, but it's stable income, he says, and we have great benefits. Cousin Beth is going on about how her husband knows someone in digital marketing who might be able to help me pivot my business model. Her 2-year-old is tugging on her leg, but she's too focused on my supposed crisis to notice. They're all treating me like a charity case, like I'm this poor, broken thing that needs to be fixed, like I'm a failure who needs to be rescued. Oh, honey, my mom says, and she has that tone. That same tone from when I was 16 and Victoria stole my project. The tone that says she's disappointed but not surprised. Why didn't you tell us you were struggling? We could have helped. My dad is shaking his head, looking confused and upset. Taylor, sweetheart, you know you can always come to us. We don't have much, but we can figure something out. I try to speak, but nothing comes out. I try to explain that it's not what Victoria's making it sound like, that those documents are just part of a normal business restructuring, that I'm not broke or desperate or any of the things she's implying. But every time I open my mouth, someone else jumps in with another suggestion, another offer, another expression of sympathy. Grandma is patting my hand and telling me about how her generation got through the Great Depression. Jenny is offering to set up a GoFundMe. Even the kids have stopped playing and are staring at me like I'm some kind of wounded animal. The humiliation is so complete, so overwhelming that I think I might actually throw up. But Victoria isn't done. I've been thinking about this all week, she says, raising her voice to get everyone's attention again. And I want Taylor to know that she can come stay with me. I have a spare bedroom in my apartment in West Hollywood, and she could even help me with some content ideas for my social media channels. You know, get back on her feet while she figures out her next steps. Content ideas. She wants me to help her with Instagram posts. She's offering me a job as her social media assistant like I'm some desperate college kid who needs pocket money. That's so generous of you, Victoria, my mom says, and there are actual tears in her eyes. Taylor isn't that wonderful. Your sister is looking out for you. I look around the table at all these faces. People who have known me my entire life, who watched me graduate at the top of my class, who celebrated when I started my business. And now, they're all looking at me like I'm a charity case who needs to be saved by my irresponsible older sister. The worst part is that some of them seem almost relieved. Like this explains something that's been bothering them. Like they always suspected that my success was too good to be true, and now they finally have confirmation that I'm just as much of a mess as everyone else. Sarah is furious. I can see her getting ready to absolutely tear Victoria apart, and part of me wants to let her. Mike is trying to catch my eye, trying to signal that we should leave, that we should get out of here before this gets any worse. But then my phone buzzes. It's a text from my real estate agent, Janet, and when I read it, everything changes. Taylor, the Santa Barbara property, just came back on the market. Owner needs to sell fast, drop the price by $200K. If you're still interested, we need to move today. This won't last long at this price. The Santa Barbara property, Victoria's dream beach house. The one she's been talking about for years. The one with the perfect view and the sage green door she's already picked out in her mind. The one she describes in excruciating detail every time she talks about her future success. It's available. Right now, at a massive discount. I look up at Victoria, who's still basking in the attention, still playing the role of the concerned older sister who's swooping in to save the day. She's accepting compliments from our relatives about how generous and responsible she is, how lucky I am to have her looking out for me. And something inside me clicks into place. You know what I'm done being the victim of Victoria's narrative. I'm done being the sister who lets it go and takes the high road while she gets to rewrite history however she wants. It's time for me to write my own story. I stand up quietly, trying not to draw attention to myself. My legs feel shaky, but I manage to walk away from the table and around the side of the house where no one can see me. My heart is pounding so hard I can feel it in my throat. My hands are trembling as I pull out my phone and text Mike, "Time to change the story!" Then I call Janet. "Janet, it's Taylor. Yes, I'm still interested in the Santa Barbara house. How fast can we move on this? If you can get pre-approval documentation to me by Monday and make an offer by Tuesday, we might be able to close by the end of next week. But Taylor, are you sure about this? It's a big decision to make quickly, especially if you're dealing with business challenges right now." Am I sure? I look back toward the backyard, where I can still hear Victoria holding court, probably detailing more of my supposed failures to our captive audience. I can hear my mom asking questions about my situation, and Uncle Robert offering to help me with my resume. "I'm sure," I tell Janet. "I'm very, very sure. And Janet, I want to pay cash." There's a pause on the other end of the line. "Cash," she repeats. "Taylor, that's a $1.2 million property, even with the discount." "I know exactly what it is," I say. "Send me the paperwork." "Okay," Janet says slowly. "I'll draw up the offer tonight, but Taylor cash offers move fast. If you're serious about this, you need to be prepared to close within a week." "I'm prepared," I tell her. When I hang up, I realize I'm smiling for the first time all day. Not a happy smile, exactly. More like the smile you get when you finally figure out how to solve a puzzle that's been driving you crazy for years. Victoria thinks she just delivered the killing blow. She thinks she just put me in my place once and for all. She thinks she's finally won the competition that's been going on between us since we were kids. What she doesn't realize is that she just gave me the motivation to do something I've been thinking about for months. Something that's going to change everything between us. Something that's going to show her exactly who she's been underestimating all these years. I take a deep breath of ocean air and walk back to the table where Victoria is still explaining to everyone how she's going to help me get back on track. She looks up when she sees me coming, and for just a second, I see something flicker across her face. Maybe it's uncertainty, maybe it's guilt. Maybe it's the first hint that she realizes she might have gone too far. But then she plasters that concerned sister smile back on. Taylor, she says, we were just talking about some options for you. I really think staying with me could be a great fresh start. And who knows? Maybe you'll discover you have a talent for social media marketing. I look at her for a long moment. Then I look around the table at all these people who think they know my story, who think they understand what's happening in my life based on 5 minutes of Victoria's version of events. That's really generous of you, Victoria, I say quietly. Can we talk more about it tomorrow? I think I need some time to process all of this. She nods, looking pleased that I'm apparently accepting her help without argument. Of course, she says. Take all the time you need. I'm here for you. We all are. I almost laugh. She's here for me. Right. Actually, I add, why don't you meet me tomorrow morning? I have something I want to show you. Something I think you'll find very interesting. Sure, she says, though she looks a little confused. I smile, and this time it's a real smile. The kind of smile that comes from knowing something no one else knows. I'll text you the address. The drive back to LA is a blur of emotion and adrenaline. My heart is pounding so hard I can feel it in my throat, and my hands are gripping the steering wheel like my life depends on it. I keep replaying the scene in my head. Victoria's smug smile, the look of pity on everyone's faces, the way they all just accepted her version of my story without question. What am I doing? Am I really about to spend over $1 million just to prove a point to my sister? Is this the most expensive revenge plot in family history? But then I remember the moment when Victoria offered me her spare bedroom like I was some kind of charity case. The way she suggested I could help her with content ideas, like I'm a failed entrepreneur who needs to start over as someone's social media assistant. No, this isn't about proving a point. This is about taking control of my own narrative. This is about showing everyone, including myself, that I refuse to be diminished. The traffic on the 405 is typically horrific, which gives me plenty of time to think. By the time I reach West LA, I've run through every possible scenario in my head. Best case, this works out exactly how I'm imagining it, and Victoria learns a valuable lesson about underestimating people. Worst case, I blow through most of my liquid assets on an impulsive real estate purchase that I'll regret for years. But you know what? Sometimes life isn't about making the perfectly rational decision. Sometimes it's about making the decision that lets you look at yourself in the mirror and feel proud of who you are. The second I get home to my apartment in Santa Monica, I'm on the phone with Mike. Okay, so remember how I said it was time to change the story, I tell him. Yeah, what did you have in mind? Please tell me you're not planning to post some kind of dramatic response on social media. Victoria's dream house just hit the market. I want to buy it. There's a long pause. I can practically hear Mike's analytical brain trying to process this information. Taylor, Mike says carefully, that's a very expensive way to make a statement. I'm not making a statement. I'm making an investment. In Santa Barbara real estate or in psychological warfare. I laugh despite myself. Maybe both, Mike sighs. Okay, walk me through this. You want to buy the house that Victoria has been obsessing over for years, the one she talks about every time she drinks too much wine at family gatherings. That's exactly what I want to do. And you want to do this because I'm tired of being underestimated. Because I'm tired of Victoria thinking she can control how our family sees me. Because I want to show her that actions have consequences. Taylor, Mike says gently, I love you, but this sounds like you're making $1 million decision based on hurt feelings. He's not wrong, but he's not entirely right either. Run the numbers with me, I say. You know my financial situation better than anyone. Can I do this? Mike is quiet for a moment, and I can practically hear him calculating in his head. This is what I love about Mike. He doesn't just react emotionally. He analyzes. Let me pull up your portfolio, he says, and I can hear him typing on his computer. Okay, looking at your liquid assets, your business accounts, your investment savings, your emergency fund. He's quiet for another minute. Technically, yes, he says finally, but it would use up most of your liquid assets. Your emergency fund, your investment savings, pretty much everything that isn't tied up in the business or retirement accounts. You'd be house rich, but cash poor. But I could do it. You could do it. The question is, should you do it? Taylor, this is a huge financial commitment. What if your business has another supplier issue? What if you need cash for an emergency? What if the real estate market takes a downturn? These are all valid concerns. Mike is being a good friend by asking the hard questions. What's the property worth? I ask. Based on recent comps in the area, probably around 1.4 to 1.5 million. So at 1.2, you'd be getting it for under market value. From a purely investment standpoint, it's not terrible. And Santa Barbara real estate trends? Stable appreciation over the past decade. It's not going to make you rich overnight, but it's unlikely to lose significant value either. I think about this for a minute. He's right, of course. It's risky, it's impulsive. It's probably not the smartest financial decision I've ever made. But you know what? I've been making smart, careful, calculated decisions my entire life. I've saved money while Victoria spent it. I've built a business while she built an Instagram following. I've been responsible and practical and boring. And where did it get me? Sitting at a family gathering being told I need my irresponsible sister's help. Set up a call with Rebecca, I tell him. Rebecca is my financial advisor, and if I'm going to do this, I need to do it right. Taylor, are you sure about this? No, I admit, but I'm going to do it anyway. The three-way call with Mike and Rebecca lasts 2 hours. We go over everything. My cash flow, my business projections, my debt-to-income ratio, my long-term financial goals. Rebecca asks a lot of hard questions, and I appreciate that. She's not trying to talk me out of it, but she wants to make sure I understand exactly what I'm committing to. The property itself is a good investment, she concludes. Santa Barbara real estate has been appreciating steadily, and based on the comps Janet sent over, you're getting it for about $200K under market value. From a purely financial standpoint, it's not a bad move. And from a non-financial standpoint, I ask. Rebecca laughs. From a non-financial standpoint, I think your sister is about to get the shock of her life. We spend another hour discussing the logistics, how to structure the purchase, what kind of financing options I have, how this affects my overall portfolio balance. I think we should do it through an LLC, Rebecca suggests. It provides some asset protection, and it keeps your personal name off the initial paperwork. If you decide you want to rent it out or sell it later, it gives you more flexibility. I like this idea for another reason too. I like the thought of Victoria trying to figure out who bought her dream house, only to hit a wall of corporate paperwork. Let's do it, I say. We decide to structure it through a new LLC called Pacific Vista Holdings. It sounds official and mysterious, and honestly, I'm enjoying the drama of it all. By Thursday evening, I've submitted my offer. Full asking price cash, no contingencies, 7-day close. It's the kind of offer that sellers dream about, especially when they need to move quickly. Janet calls me Friday morning while I'm having coffee and trying to focus on work emails. Congratulations, she says, and I can hear the smile in her voice. You just bought yourself a beautiful piece of Santa Barbara. The relief and terror hit me simultaneously. I just committed to spending $1.2 million in cash to buy my sister's dream house. What have I done? But then I think about Victoria's face when she announced my supposed bankruptcy to our entire family, and suddenly I feel nothing but determination. I wasn't just buying a house, though. I was buying back my dignity. I was buying the right to control my own story. I was buying the chance to show Victoria that underestimating me was the biggest mistake she'd ever made. The closing is scheduled for Sunday morning at 9 a.m., Janet continues. I'll email you all the final paperwork tonight. Sunday morning, which means I have exactly 2 days to prepare for what's going to be the most satisfying conversation of my life. Victoria calls me Saturday morning, and I almost don't answer. But then I realize that hearing her voice, hearing that patronizing tone she's been using with me will only strengthen my resolve. Hey, she says, and her voice has that syrupy sweet quality she uses when she wants something. I was thinking maybe we could grab lunch today and talk about your situation. I have some ideas for how you could rebuild your brand, maybe pivot into something more stable. Rebuild my brand, like I'm some kind of failed influencer who needs to start over. I let it go to voicemail. She calls again an hour later. Taylor, I know yesterday was hard, but I really think we should talk. I'm here for you, and I want to help you figure out your next steps. Maybe we could even collaborate on some content. Document your comeback story. My comeback story. She wants to turn my supposed failure into content for her social media. Voicemail again. By the third call, she sounds annoyed. Taylor, you're being ridiculous. I'm trying to help you. The least you could do is call me back. We're family. Instead of calling her back, I spend Saturday doing something much more productive. I drive up to Santa Barbara to scout out the house to figure out the best spot to have our little meeting. I want everything to be perfect. The house is even more beautiful than I remembered from the photos. It's this classic California bungalow with weathered cedar shingles and that perfect sage green door that Victoria has been describing in detail for years. There's a wraparound porch with white railings, and the view of the Pacific is absolutely breathtaking. I can picture exactly how Victoria would want to style this place. The Instagram photos she'd take from every angle. The stories she'd tell about her beach house lifestyle. The way she'd use it to build her personal brand. But this isn't Victoria's house. It's mine. I stop by the local bakery and order coffee and pastries for Sunday morning. I want this moment to be civilized, almost ceremonial. I'm not trying to humiliate Victoria the way she humiliated me. I'm trying to educate her. Saturday night, I can barely sleep. I keep running through different scenarios in my head. How will Victoria react? Will she be angry? Shocked, hurt? Will she understand why I did this, or will she just see it as a cruel power play? Part of me wonders if I'm making a mistake. Maybe I should have just confronted her privately, explained that she misunderstood those documents, and asked her to set the record straight with our family. Maybe buying her dream house is overkill. But then, I remember the look on her face when she was basking in the sympathy and attention at the family gathering. The way she seemed to genuinely enjoy being seen as a successful sister for once, even if it meant tearing me down to get there. No, Victoria needs to learn that her actions have consequences, and I need to prove to myself that I won't be anyone's victim, not even my own sister's. Finally, around midnight, I send Victoria a text. Meet me tomorrow at 10:30. I need help with something. She responds immediately, which tells me she's been awake too. Probably planning her next move in whatever game she thinks we're playing. Of course, I send her the address. What is this place? She texts back. You'll see, I reply. Thanks for being such a supportive sister. I can practically feel her confusion through the phone, but she doesn't ask any more questions. Sunday morning, I wake up at 6 a.m. I can't sleep anyway, so I might as well get an early start. I make coffee, take a long shower, put on my favorite sundress. The one that makes me feel confident and put together. The one I wore to my first big client meeting 3 years ago. The drive up the coast is gorgeous. The sun is just starting to rise over the Pacific, painting the sky in these incredible shades of pink and gold. I roll the windows down and let the ocean air blow through my hair. And for the first time in weeks, I feel genuinely peaceful. There's something about the California coast that puts everything in perspective. The vastness of the ocean, the endless horizon, the way the light changes every few minutes. It reminds you that your problems, no matter how big they feel, are just small moments in a much larger story. I'm early for the closing, but Janet is already at the title company when I arrive. Big day, she says with a smile. The biggest, I agree. The paperwork takes about an hour. Signing documents, transferring funds, reviewing disclosures. It's all very official and businesslike, but inside I'm practically vibrating with excitement. There's something surreal about spending this much money. I keep expecting someone to stop me to ask if I'm sure I know what I'm doing, to double-check that I have the funds to cover this purchase. But it all goes smoothly. Wire transfers are confirmed, documents are notarized, and suddenly I'm signing my name on the final deed. And then Janet hands me the keys. Congratulations, Taylor. You're officially a Santa Barbara homeowner. I drive to the house with my heart in my throat. It's even more beautiful than I remembered. The morning light is hitting the windows just right, and I can see the ocean sparkling in the distance. I sit in my car for a minute, just looking at it. My house. I own this beautiful, perfect house that overlooks the Pacific and has exactly the kind of charm that makes people fall in love with California. I take a deep breath, get out of the car, and unlock the front door. The house is empty, obviously, but it has good bones. Hardwood floors, big windows, a kitchen that opens onto a deck with an incredible view of the water. There's a fireplace in the living room, and I can already imagine cozy evenings watching the sunset. I can also imagine exactly how Victoria would want to decorate it. The color schemes she'd choose, the furniture she'd buy, the way she'd arrange everything for maximum Instagram impact. But this isn't Victoria's house. It's mine. I set up on the front porch. I brought a small table, 2 chairs, the coffee and pastries from the bakery. I arrange everything just so then sit down to wait. Victoria is supposed to be here in 15 minutes, and I have no idea what I'm going to say to her. How do you tell your sister that you just bought her dream house out from under her? How do you explain that you're not the failure she tried to make you look like in front of your entire family? How do you forgive someone for humiliating you in the worst possible way, and then turn around and show them grace? Because that's what this is about, really. It's not about revenge. It's not about making Victoria feel as small as she tried to make me feel. It's about showing her who I really am. And maybe showing her who she could be if she stopped trying so hard to tear other people down to build herself up. I pour myself a cup of coffee and watch the ocean waves crash against the rocks below. In a few minutes, everything is going to change between Victoria and me. I just hope we both survive it. I see Victoria's car pulling up the driveway, and my stomach does this little flip. She's driving her white BMW, the one she leases, but tells people she bought, and she's taking her time getting out. Looking around, probably trying to figure out why I asked her to meet me at some random house in Santa Barbara. She walks up the front path wearing designer sunglasses and this expression that's half confused, half smug. Like she thinks I brought her here to admit I need her help, to beg her to save me from my supposed financial ruin. Taylor, she calls out as she approaches the porch. What is this place? Why did you want to meet here? I stand up and gesture to the chair across from me. Have a seat. Want some coffee? She sits down, but she's looking around with this puzzled expression. Seriously, what are we doing here? Is this like an Airbnb or something? Are you thinking about renting a place up here? That's when I see it happen. The exact moment when recognition dawns on her face. Her eyes go wide and she slowly pulls off her sunglasses. She's looking at the sage green front door. The weathered shingles, the view of the ocean stretching out beyond the deck. Wait, she says, and her voice is barely a whisper. This is the house. Which house? I ask, even though I know exactly what she means. The house. My house. The one she trails off, still staring. The one you've been planning to buy? I finish for her. Yes, this is that house. Victoria looks back at me and I can see her brain trying to process what's happening. But why are we here? Did you talk to the realtor for me? Oh my God, Taylor, you're so sweet, but I can't afford to buy a house right now, especially with everything you're going through. Here it comes. Victoria. I say, reaching into my purse and pulling out a set of keys. I own it. I closed this morning. The silence that follows is so complete, I can hear the waves crashing on the rocks below. Victoria just stares at me. Then, at the keys. Then back at me. I'm sorry. I bought the house. I repeat slower this time. It's mine. Her face goes through about 5 different emotions in the span of 10 seconds. Confusion, disbelief, shock, and then something that looks almost like panic. But, she stammers, I thought, you're broke, you defaulted on that loan, you need help, you need to stay with me and Victoria. I interrupt her gently. I'm not broke. But the documents were from a standard business restructuring. When my supplier defaulted, I had to reorganize some of my assets for legal protection. It's boring paperwork stuff that happens when you run a real business. At no point was I ever in danger of bankruptcy. I watch as this information sinks in. Victoria's face is getting paler by the second. So you're telling me, she says slowly, that when I told everyone at the reunion that you were struggling financially, you were wrong, I say. Completely wrong. Victoria puts her head in her hands. Oh God. Oh God. Taylor, I'm so sorry. I thought I was helping. I thought... You thought what exactly? She's quiet for a long moment. When she finally looks up at me, there are tears in her eyes. I thought I was finally going to be the successful one, she admits. I thought for once in my life I was going to be the sister who had it all figured out. And there it is, the truth we've both been dancing around for years. Victoria, I say quietly, what's really going on with you? And I mean really. No Instagram version, no carefully crafted story. What's actually happening in your life? She looks out at the ocean for a minute, and when she speaks, her voice is so small I almost don't hear her. My credit is destroyed, she says. I maxed out my cards in college and never really recovered. I'm 3 months behind on rent. The boutique job barely covers my groceries. All those collaborations and influencer deals I'm always talking about, they don't exist. I make maybe $200 a month from social media if I'm lucky. I feel my heart breaking a little bit. This is my sister, and she's been struggling this whole time while pretending to have this glamorous life. The truth is, she continues, I've been jealous of you for years. You make everything look so easy. You're smart and successful, and you never seem to need anyone. I just wanted to feel like I was winning for once. We sit in silence for a while, watching the waves. So, what happens now? Victoria asks finally. I've been thinking about this all morning, actually, and I've come to a decision. I have a proposition for you, I tell her. She looks up hopeful. You can use this house, weekends, vacations, whenever you want, but there's one condition. You have to tell the truth to our family about what you did yesterday and about what's really going on with your finances. No more lies, no more pretending, just the truth. Victoria is quiet for a long time. I can see her weighing her options, probably trying to figure out if there's a way around this. Will you help me? She asks finally. Not financially. I don't mean that. I mean, will you help me figure out how to actually build something real instead of just pretending I already have it? Yes, I say without hesitation. Of course I will. 2 weeks later, I'm hosting a family brunch at the beach house. Same people who were at the reunion, same aunt who tried to sell me essential oils, same uncle who offered me a job. But this time, the energy is completely different. Victoria stands up and she doesn't need to clink her glass to get everyone's attention. The room naturally quiets when she starts to speak. I have something I need to say to all of you, she begins, and I can hear the nervousness in her voice. 2 weeks ago, I told you that Taylor was in financial trouble. I said her business had defaulted on a loan and that she was too ashamed to ask for help. She takes a deep breath. I was wrong. Taylor isn't bankrupt. Her business is fine. I misunderstood some legal documents and jumped to conclusions. And instead of talking to her privately, I decided to humiliate her in front of all of you. The room is completely silent. I lied, Victoria continues, and her voice gets stronger. And I hurt my sister because I was jealous of her success. Taylor has built an amazing business. She owns this beautiful house we're sitting in right now. And she deserves your respect, not your pity. She looks directly at me. I'm sorry, Taylor. I'm sorry I tried to tear you down instead of celebrating your achievements. And I'm sorry it took me this long to admit it. For a moment, nobody says anything. Then Sarah starts clapping. Slowly, everyone else joins in. But the best part comes after when people start coming up to me individually. Aunt Linda apologizes for the essential oils pitch. Uncle Robert admits he was wrong to assume I needed rescuing. Even my mom pulls me aside and says she should have listened to my side of the story before jumping to conclusions. It's not a complete transformation. Families don't change overnight. But it's a start. Later that evening, Victoria and I are sitting on the porch watching the sunset. We've both changed into comfortable clothes, and there's this peaceful quiet between us that I haven't felt in years. "Thank you," she says, "for giving me the chance to make it right." "Thank you for taking it," I reply. "Can I ask you something?" Victoria says. "Why didn't you just destroy me? You could have. You could have bought this house and never told me, let me find out some other way. You could have made me look like a fool." I think about this for a minute. "Because revenge wasn't the point," I tell her. "Growth was, for both of us." Victoria nods. "So what are the rules now? For us, I mean." "Honesty," I say immediately. "No more lies, no more pretending. If you're struggling, tell me. If you're proud of something, tell me that too, but no more performing for each other." "And no more competing," she adds. "We're not enemies. We're sisters." "We're sisters." I agree. As the sun sets over the Pacific, I realize that buying this house was never really about proving anything to Victoria. It was about proving something to myself, that I don't have to accept being diminished, that I have the power to change my own story. And sometimes when you're brave enough to stand up for yourself, you give other people permission to be honest too. Victoria still has a long way to go in figuring out her life, and I still have a business to run and challenges to face. But for the first time in years, we're facing them as allies instead of competitors. And you know what? That feels like the biggest victory of all. If this story resonated with you, if you've ever had to deal with family members who tried to tear you down instead of building you up, let me know in the comments. Sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is refuse to stay small just to make other people comfortable. And remember, you don't need anyone's permission to succeed. You just need the courage to bet on yourself. If this story hit close to home, if you've ever had to deal with family members who tried to tear you down instead of building you up, let me know in the comments below. What would you have done in my situation? And if you want more stories about standing up for yourself and refusing to stay small just to make others comfortable, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell, because sometimes the best revenge is simply proving them wrong. Thanks for watching, and remember, you don't need anyone's permission to succeed.